Thank you, Ali. Thank you very much. So it gives me great pleasure now to bring Mark Moody up to the stage. Mark is Sales Director at Marjan, and a place that I know extremely well. I've been sitting on the board of RAC TDA for the last 5 years, and it's going to be really interesting to hear what's happening in your neck of the woods and what's going on. So please welcome Mark.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Jonathan.
Good stuff. Mark, thanks for joining us for this quick chat. Really interesting. We're pivoting now to the Middle East, to the UAE, and specifically to Ras Al Khaimah, although that's not the general discussion we're having. It's more about the UAE as a whole. But it's so interesting what's going on at the moment. We had our FHS last week. It was off the charts,
yep.
Busy, busy, busy. There's deals being done. There's money coming into the market right now from the West, which we've never seen before to this extent.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So tell us about Ras Al Khaimah a little bit and where it sits in terms of the UAE.
Okay, so Ras Al Khaimah is obviously one of the 7 Emirates in the United Arab Emirates. Ras Al Khaimah sits at the north of the country. So again, obviously everybody's fairly familiar with Dubai. It's around 100 kilometers north of Dubai, about 55 minutes in the car. Obviously, it's one of the original settlements, one of the oldest Emirates, because it's at the northern tip of the peninsula. Obviously, it's one of the closest trading posts. So UAE, before the discovery of oil, was obviously a trading post, a central destination east to west, and there's settlements in Ras Al Khaimah that date back 5000 BC. So huge amount of history, huge amount of heritage in the region. A lot of the large families, the Emirati families, actually originate from Ras Al Khaimah. It's fairly small by population, so around 375,000 residents now actually in Ras Al Khaimah. But of course, the UAE as a whole is around just shy of 10 million people now. And again, when you start breaking down the local population, around 10% is local, then you have obviously a huge expatriate region. Ras Al Khaimah was always very industrious, and manufacturing was a big hub for Iraq. We also had obviously the port, so we have Saka Port, which is actually now the largest bulk handling port in the region. We have obviously the benefit as well of the mountains in Ras Al Khaimah. So there's the Jais mountains, but within that obviously becomes the limestone. So again, in terms of industry, it's one of the largest producers of ceramics now globally. RAC Ceramics is world renowned. There's also Stephen Rock. So again, all of the rock that in places like the Palm Jumeirah, for example, in Saudi, all of the reclamation projects, even down to the sand on the beach, that's produced in Ras Al Khaimah. And then we also have RAC Cement, as well. So again, building materials, as I say, shipping, bulk handling was always very much what RAC was known for. But again, the leadership, and we had somebody earlier mentioned that the leadership is very dynamic and forward-thinking, as the UAE as a whole tends to be. So hospitality is a market, very specific why we're here today. Hospitality is something that within the last 10 years was really identified as a driver for us, and something that was focused on. So RAC has kind of created an identity within that space.
Sure, and it's slightly different to Dubai, where they've had to sort of build that destination, and they've had to create the culture almost to some extent. Whereas in Ras Al Khaimah, you've got that with the history, the wonderful palaces. You have also the mountains, Jebel Jais, and I've been on the zip line. Have you?
I have, yeah.
Okay, good.
Terrifying.
I'm glad.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, not terrifying.
Yeah. And all the other activation that's going on for the destination. But I think one of the real game changers here for the destination, of course, is the development, Marjan, which you're working on.
Yes.
Which, in a sense, has been a little bit sleepy over the years in terms of the development, making sure you get the right partners on board and everything else. But that's all changed now, hasn't it?
It has. So Marjan Island, Al Marjan Island was incepted in 2005. Very similar to the Palm Jumeirah. It's a reclamation project. So it's a man-made reclamation project. It covers around 2.3 million square meters of land. We've created around 23 kilometers of coastline with the islands and around 8 kilometers of dedicated beaches. And what reclamation allows you to do is it allows you to create a very usable, stable, infrastructure-friendly platform. You know, we've talked about ESG, we've talked about sustainability. You know, if you have this huge land space, but you have the ability to run infrastructure corridors in a small space, be able to service plots, create land that you don't have to be excavating so deep, you know, it's piling, there's dedicated beaches, infrastructure in place by way of things like roads and connection. It's a very efficient way to build. So Al Marjan Island was originally developed to be a real hub within Ras Al Khaimah, a destination within the destination. The master plan has evolved, obviously, through the years, but we have a scope there to have anything between 8,000 to 10,000 hotel keys. It's very much a hospitality-led project now, but we have a scope there for around anything between 8,000 to 10,000 hotel keys, around 10,000 residences as well, because again, you know, we're keen to grow the population of the Emirate, and to do that, you need to have, you know, key projects to be able to house people. And then there's complementing assets. So it's things like the marina, for example, on the island. There's F&B, there's, you know, retail. So it's a real, like I say, destination within the destination, but strategically located as well in the Emirate to benefit from the infinite connectivity that we have. You know, we have 5 international airports within 2 hours of Marjan Island. So,
but I think the change that's taken place recently is, of course, wind.
Yes.
So let me get on to that in a sec. But just in terms of the overall size of the Emirate, in terms of visitor numbers, it's currently you typically get about 1.1, 1.2 million visitors, looking for 3. So you're looking almost to triple that. Yeah. And that compares to Dubai, which is probably hovering around 15 million, looking towards 25 million, I think is their goal, is their vision. Yeah. So that gives you the sort of the size of the Emirate. In terms of the number of rooms, currently, from memory, is it around 8?
We're around 8,000 at the moment.
And you've got plans in place for about 5,000 in the next few years. I think.
More, yeah. So to your point, you know, we've traditionally been, I mean, 6-7 years ago when RAK Tourism Development Authority really spearheaded the promotion of the destination, we were around 400,000 visitors. And we benefit from a very strong domestic market as well. RAK has always been the staycay, you know, again.
And very much so during lockdown.
Very much. So we managed to reach around 1.1 million visitors in 2019. And again, COVID it's funny because I haven't really heard mentioned much this conference, which is nice, but COVID for the UAE actually, it wasn't a benefit, it's wrong to call it a benefit, but you know, we kept the lights on, they kept the wheels turning, the leadership is incredibly nimble there, very agile, there was implementation in place to make it safe still, you know, we reduced occupancy in hotels, but we're very conscious of our stakeholders in that, you know, they have to still be successful, and you know, implementation was put in place. Ras Al Khaimah, for example, and the RAK TDA, they were the first globally to offer free COVID tests for the visitors. So if you checked into a hotel, you had a voucher, you took that voucher, you could avail a free COVID test. As I say, we reduced occupancy down, so occupancy of hotels went down to 65%, social distancing, mask wearing, but the assets remained open. So what we saw, and again with a particularly strong domestic market, even though we did have a lockdown period in the UAE, you know, we had 3 months of pretty much not, you know, I think international travel dropped significantly. We only dropped to 880,000 visitors. So actually 2020 we had 880. But what we saw, and what was very interesting because we have the data, is actually the hospitality assets, their ADR increased and their RevPAR increased because they moved away from the international visitor, which was the longer stay care, the longer visit, with a flight, the affordable luxury, and they went almost a la carte. So, the people were coming from the other Emirates, they were staying for higher rates, they were, paying for food. So, we managed to maintain that, and our source markets within the Emirate dried up. So our traditional source market, international, the largest, was Germany, and then it was the UK. Of course, the taps got turned off during COVID, so we filled that void with the CIS markets. The CIS market was a great feeder for us, and it was promoted heavily before. Now we have the European travel coming back, and we have this. So to your point, to the 3 million, we're very much in line now back with achieving that figure, which is we forecast around 2025, 2027 for the 3 million visitors without the Win announcement, and I think we're very much back on track to achieve that.
So tell us about the Win announcement. Very briefly, very quickly, because I know we're running out of time.
So,
that, I think, is one of the most exciting projects in the entire UAE.
It is, and it's a real, again, testament to the leadership in Ras Al Khaimah. It's a real testament to the UAE and the ability to evolve. We're talking about FDI into a new region, and really we had to identify where there was positioning for RAK to take the next step. And the Win announcement came from almost 2 years of discussions, negotiations.
Now, did they say, when you came and knocked on their door, because I know you were very involved in the whole negotiation process, when you knocked on that door, did they say, oh yes, this is a really good idea?
No.
Okay.
So no, and it's a very interesting story. My colleague, who's not here today, he had many conversations with Win. I mean, we identified Win as, obviously, again, if you're going to bring something in, you want to have the best within their segment. And Win, it's fair to say, are the best at the integrated resort.
Just give us the size of the project.
So in terms of the project in Ras Al Khaimah, so we have an island, an individual island, which is 5 million square feet. So it's around 5 million square feet. It has the marina. You're talking about a built-up area potentially of 10 million square feet of land. So Win were identified, because they bring so much more. And again, we call it integrated resort because, yes, there is a gaming aspect. Gaming is obviously something that's significant to what Win bring. However, it makes up a very small portion of what the Win will bring. And it's around 10%. So they bring, we're talking about a 2,000...
So gaming is about 10%.
Gaming represents about 10%. There's still going to be around 2,000 gaming positions, which was one of the largest globally. But, they kind of had...
What's the total investment?
The total investment is in excess now of about $4 billion.
And how much did Win put in?
So Win have put in around half. I mean, they've invested at $500 million already.
So this must be the biggest investment from the West.
It's significant.
In tourism.
Yeah, significant. And it really does filter down to the rest of the project. It brings... I mean, Win showed us some figures last week at FHS, and their Vegas property generates 13 million visitors. Now, they came to us and said that they will bring 3 to 5. Now, if they bring 3 to 5, and we've just talked about 3 million in the next 5, that's doubling what our forecast was, and that filters down because they can't accommodate 5 million visitors. They maybe can accommodate a third, or actually less, maybe a fifth of that with full occupancy. So again, it filters down to the rest of our stakeholders. There's going to be people who can't afford to stay at Win, don't want to stay at Win. So our other hospitality assets on the island and within the RAK as a whole, they benefit because these people need somewhere to stay. The residents, there's the...
You've got a population of how many billion within a three-hour flight time?
So within a I think it's within a 4-hour flight, it's about 75% of the global population.
Yeah.
Within the global population.
And you're 45 minutes from Dubai International Airport. You've down the road, you've got the private airport.
So we have Ras Al Khaimah Airport, there's Sharjah International Airport, there's Dubai International, all within an hour.
So what have you learnt from all your discussions with Win and bring them in? What's the big learning here?
So I think, again, we go back to the Future Summit last week. It was great to hear the head of development basically saying what what an experience it had been both sides. But for them, it was very unique experience in that they had total partnership with us. So it wasn't that Win were coming and buying a plot and developing it. They've developed it collaboratively with us. That's investment. That's right the way down from, they've come up. I mean, you have to consider this is the first beach resort that Win have ever developed. So again, they wasn't familiar with things like shading of the building, with the heat, and they haven't got a beach resort. So it's been a learning curve for those. But I think from both sides, the joined up approach, the solution solving, the fact that pretty much for them as well, not anything is on the table, but what was very encouraging for them is any speed bump or anything that's come up, it's been managed and dealt with. So for both sides, it's been a really unique experience. It really does represent something, as you say, completely unique in the region, and it's a real anchor for Ras Al Khaimah.
Well, just last week we had Abu Dhabi National Hotels announce a 1 billion dirham deal on the Palm. So
on Marjan.
On
Marjan. Also Dubai Investment, EMAR. We have just signed with a European fund from Slovakia. We have conversations with German, UK. So again, we've kind of now started to field a lot more, and it's validated. The conversations that we've had. What is interesting is since Win announced in February, we've actually sold the island now. So we've transacted more in the last 8 months, 6 to 7, 8 months, than we have in probably 4 years because off of the back of Win. People really see the value that it brings, what it's going to create. And again, something, again, for the UAE, Win will be operational in 2026.
2026.
They've set the milestone of December 26. We should be breaking ground
why are you here
next year. We have other projects now in the pipeline. So as a master developer for Ras Al Khaimah, our role is to manage and master plan all of the freehold land in the Emirates. So Marjan represents 2.3 million square meters. We manage around 19 million. So we have a new central business district. Raki is the free zone that we have. They have around 20,000 free zone companies, based both in Ras Al Khaimah and globally. We have a new waterfront destination coming. We have residential, projects coming as well. So it's really just to, again, back up again that we have opportunities. It's a real destination which is open to investors globally.
It's not too late to get into the market?
Not by any stretch.
Okay, good.
If anything, it's the opportune time, I think.
Okay, good. Well, listen, I know our time has run out, and we could move on to the whole sort of sustainable side as well. But I know the Emirate having sat on the board for a while, has been very focused also on that whole sustainability side. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Thanks, Mark.